My name is Kenneth Ntende, and welcome back to the Ultimate Sales course. In this segment of the course, we'll be dealing with sales execution. Execution is simply how do you actually get the money out of a person's pocket, theoretically. In this segment, we'll be taking you through step by step of everything that you need to do in order to close a sale. In handling sales execution, we'll deal with 4 segments. Number 1, understanding the art of persuasion. Number 2, qualifying a sales lead. Number 3, handling each sale. And number 4, how do you handle objections? So let's get started. In today's segment, we'll be dealing with the art of persuasion. Persuasion is an art that everyone needs. When you take a girl out, you're trying to persuade her to like you. When you go for a job interview, you're trying to persuade the owner of the company to give you a job. So it's an art that I believe that everyone needs and an art that everyone can learn. As a salesperson, this is one of the most important arts that you need. How do you actually persuade someone from a point of not having interest in your product to swaying them into actually purchasing a product? In this segment, we'll take you through the exact art that you go through step by step. All I request of you is make sure that the tips we give you are used for ethical selling. So let's get started. The human mind is naturally inclined to take the easier route. If there's a hard route here and a softer route this side, by default, most people will want to take the shorter route. So the same thing applies when it comes to determining a buying decision. There are 6 shortcuts that every entrepreneur or salesperson can go through to bias an individual towards a specific buying decision. The first being reciprocity. Simply said, reciprocity is I give you something and naturally you're inclined towards giving me something in return. So take an example, I invite you to my party. When you have a party, what happens naturally is you will want to invite me for the party that you're hosting that time around. So this is how the art works. But just to help you elaborate how this would work. So take an example, you've gone out, you're having a meal at a restaurant, then waitress X comes. First thing, she's very nice, very, very, very nice. She's given you the meal has come out perfectly fine, and yeah, you're having a good time. Now after all that, what happens is, say there are cupcakes or mints or cookies, whatever the restaurant gives, that person brings you a muffin and literally puts it on your table. Says, you know what, here, have a muffin or have a mint. And as she's going, she's like, you know what, she stops, pauses and comes back to you and says, you know what, I actually like you, you're a very nice person, just have another one. Now what that triggers in your mind is you owe that person. What happens is research actually has it that the people that do that tend to actually get more tips. In your mind, it's like you're now indebted to that person, not directly per se, you don't owe them in the literal sense, but your mind triggers that thing that, you know what, I need to also give this person something. Now, people that do that actually tend to get larger tips than the people that do not do anything of the sort. So this is how the art works. Find a way of giving something. No matter, it doesn't have to be money, it doesn't have to be something good, but give them whatever small thing. According to the way the mind is structured, the moment you give someone something, be the first to give. Make sure it's a bit dramatic. Find a way of structuring it in a way that it doesn't come off like they owe you something, but their mind triggers some sort of sentiment to bias them towards giving something back to you. And this will naturally result into you getting more sales. That's point number 1. Number 2 is scarcity. Naturally, whenever something is scarce, people tend to want it more. The best example I could give you is there was a time Concorde, British Airways had a Concorde. They had 2 flights moving in every day, one in the morning, one in the evening. What happened is, due to financial reasons or whatever, they said, you know what, we're actually cancelling one of the flights. Now, because of that, people started wanting more. Literally the next day, the number of orders that were placed for that same Concorde flight, nothing had changed besides just removing one. The number of orders automatically rose. They more than tripled within just one day of them doing that. So the same thing applies. When you're making your sales pitch, try and create, number one, this is our value proposition. Number two, this is what you're going to benefit. And number three, if you do not take this up at this point in time, you actually stand a chance of missing out on whatever is available at this point in time. The moment you withdraw something, it's like people want it more. The logic works. Even if a baby, from babies to adults, if there is something there, a child may not play with it, just get it out and pull it out. The child is going to start wanting it out. The same model applies to even the human mind. It's just built like that. So find a way of creating scarcity around whatever products you have or whatever services you're offering, and that will undoubtedly bias someone towards wanting to buy the product more or wanting to buy the service more. That's point number two. Number three is authority. Find a way of establishing your authority. The thing about authority, however, it's always better when it's someone else talking about your authority. It doesn't matter if that person is paid. Sometimes people hire secretaries and the secretary says, do you know what? You want to meet this person? Okay, this person has 20 years experience in this and this and this. They're very serious. So it's naturally creating this imprint in the other person's mind that the person I'm going to talk to has a lot of value, understands what they're doing. If it's a mechanic, for example, and one of your friends comes and recommends that mechanic and says, that guy, he has worked on cars six plus years and there have been no problems whatsoever. It's creating an imprint. So find a way of using that to your advantage. And just the thing about that is try to understand that it's always better when that authority imprint comes from someone else. It's never supposed to come from you talking about how you have all this. It comes off as if you're bragging, which is not somewhere you want to be. So that's how best to use authority. That's point number three. Number four is liking. People do business with people they like. I mean, this is the oldest sales trick out there. Before you push what you're trying to sell, get someone to like you. As an example, someone earlier was telling me if someone called asking for a battery. I told him sometimes don't even first talk about the battery. Find out a way of talking about which kind of car do you have? This is a very nice car. People like, number one thing, people who pay compliment to them. So find a way of creating some kind of relationship, then get to the point of selling, because naturally people like doing business with people that are liked. So there are a few things that get people to like you. Number one is having something in common. I mean, we went to the same school. I mean, we like the same car. I mean, this and this. That naturally creates some kind of affirmation that, hey man, we are together. There's some sort of correlation between me and you. And number two, having some sort of mutual benefit. I mean, if we take this route, it's not only me benefiting, but you're gaining this in favor as well. And number three, people that compliment them. I mean, tell someone they look nice. Be as real as possible. Don't use it to your advantage, of course, but find out according some kind of compliment. It will go a long way towards helping you enable you sell whatever product or service you want to sell at the end of the day. Number five is consensus. Now this applies to items where we don't have a lot of knowledge. The way the mind is made is we like what other people like. We hate what other people hate in most scenarios, especially on products or services that we don't know. So as a salesperson, just to give you an example, we could say if you're selling maybe chicken and you call it Jamaican jerky chicken, if you know that someone has never tasted this chicken, you can say probably 97% of the people that have eaten this chicken have left licking their fingers and have come back for more. In a way, you're showing this person that, man, everyone else that has actually paid attention to this and eaten this has liked it. This triggers some sort of emotion whereby if everyone has liked this, I probably should be liking this, or else there is something wrong with me. So this is how you use that. Find a way of saying 97%, 80%. that consensus triggers the mind towards biasing that person towards buying the product or service you're trying to sell to them. Number 6 is consistency. Now, I know most people might think consistency comes in line of the salesperson, but no, I mean, your product's already standard, so there's no consistency expected there. What we mean is consistency on the side of the person buying. So as an example, take an example, I'm buying my first phone and I buy a Camon of $50. Consider the Camon 1 as the entry product. I mean, this is the first time this person is interfacing your product, yes, with the Camon. Yes, you want them to buy a $1,000 Camon, but this is the entry point. Now, when you bring the Camon 2, they would be comfortable to buy the Camon 2. I mean, they're already used to using the Camon. Yes, there could be this other phone that is much better than the Camon, but they don't want to go through the process of learning this other entire ecosystem. Now, this is how best to deploy it as a salesperson. Number 1, create entry products that get someone into your system, then give them different either products or steps to take in order to get to the goal that you want them to be at. But the first step is usually just a lowering point, and the next step is just to get them further and further and further up your pipeline. So that is how best to define consistency from the side of the person purchasing.